a 20-year-old defender who scores goals like a striker, dominates Spain's defence, and just became the most expensive defender in Real Madrid's history.
Tavernier delivers towards the back post. Huijsen!
Man, 20 years of age, he is so cool, so composed, so chilled, as he says. I mean, he just makes the game look so easy.
But what if I told you that Juventus bullied him out of the club? And why did he choose to play for Spain while being born in the Netherlands? This is the untold story of Dean Huijsen. Born in Amsterdam on April 14th, 2005, his early life was never normal. His father, Donny, was a former professional footballer for Ajax. But at just 5 years old, Dean's life changed completely. Together with his family, he moved to Spain. He joined the local football club called Costa Unida in Marbella. But when he stepped on the pitch, it became clear. He was different. He wasn't a defender. Crazy enough, Dean played as a striker, just like his father did at Ajax. Dean was tall for his age and easily scored headers. He was their best striker in the academy. When he was just 10 years old, he played with his local team against Málaga. What happened next was unexpected. Dean and his team won 4-1, and he even scored a goal. Right after the game, Málaga invited him to join the academy, but his dream of becoming a pro quickly started to feel like a mistake. The coaches of Málaga placed Dean in the older age teams, but instead of playing, he was always on the bench. And then things got even worse for him. One day, the coaches made a decision that shocked him. They moved him from striker to centre-back. The coaches said, Dean loved playing as a striker, but he was so good at reading the play that we wanted to try him in defence. But he hated playing in defence. He wanted to score goals. But there was one thing that made him stand out: his height. Even as a defender, he was dangerous during corners and scored a lot. He wasn't just good at it, he was leading the team. He became captain and slowly realised that defending was his hidden talent. But his defending skills in the academy also caught the attention of Sergio Palicha, the first team coach of Málaga. When Dean was just 15 years old, he got invited to train with the first team. He was playing so well that Málaga wanted to keep him, but they had a problem. Real Madrid and Juventus were both ready to sign Dean. He had to take one of the biggest decisions of his life, and for a moment the choice seemed easy. He had always been a Real Madrid fan, but instead, he shocked everyone. He rejected Real Madrid and chose Juventus. They paid just €500,000 for him. He later explained his decision and said, Italy teaches you the ins and outs of defending. And he was right. Madrid had just sold Sergio Ramos to PSG, but Juve had Bonucci, Chiellini, and even Matthijs de Ligt. There wasn't a better place to upgrade his defending skills. At first, it looked like the perfect move, but later on, it turned into a bad decision. Before the problem started, something unexpected happened. Dean scored more goals than ever for Juve's under-17 team. He even became their penalty taker. He scored 8 times in 20 games and went straight to the under-19s, where he became captain. In the UEFA Youth League, he scored 3 goals in 6 matches. Looking at the stats, you'd think he was playing as a striker, not as a defender. He quickly got promoted to Juve's next-gen team in the Serie C, and he kept on scoring. In the semi-final of the Cup, he scored a crazy goal and helped Juve reach the final. Dean had the chance to win his first trophy ever, but in the final they lost to Vicenza. But Juventus knew they had something special, and in 2023 they quickly extended his contract until 2027. And it got even better. In that same year, Dean got the call to represent the Netherlands at the Under-17 Euros. As a captain, they made it all the way to the final, against France and against Désiré Doué. With the score at 1-1, Dean thought he scored the winning goal, but it was ruled offside. France scored and took the trophy home. But once he returned to Juventus, the problems began. On October 22, 2023, at just 18 years old, Dean made his Serie A debut for Juventus against AC Milan in the legendary San Siro, and once again he impressed. Even Allegri said, "How Dean reads the play, it's just fantastic." It should have been the start of something big, but instead, that debut was also his last ever appearance for Juventus. He was stuck on the bench every game. Allegri never played him again, not a single minute. By January 2024, they gave him a choice: go out on loan or don't play at all. Frosinone, a club fighting for relegation, quickly reached an agreement with Juve. The move was basically done, but then one phone call changed everything. It was Mourinho, the coach of AS Roma, who called Dean. He even said Dean is one of Europe's biggest talents. Juventus didn't believe in him, but Mourinho did. That is why they call him the special one for a reason. Dean joined Roma on the 6th of January, and just one day later, without even a single training session, he made his debut against Atalanta. He immediately proved to Mourinho that he was right, completing the most passes of all players. And just 3 days later again, he was already in the starting 11 in the derby against Lazio. But that night, it went wrong. He caused a penalty which lost Roma the game. But he fought back and quickly scored his first goal for Roma with a powerful header. Then in the next game, Dean did something special. In the game against Frosinone, the club that he almost joined a couple weeks ago, he picked up the ball in his own half, dribbled past 3 defenders like a striker, and curled it into the top corner. And there was only one possible celebration he could do, the iconic Cristiano Ronaldo celebration. When his loan ended, he returned to Juventus, ready to fight for a spot in the first team. But what happened next shocked him. On his first day back at Juve, the club gave him the news. He had to leave. Thiago Motta, the new manager at that time, had no plans to use Dean. And that wasn't all. Because Juventus was in financial problems, they needed money fast. He had to leave the club as soon as possible. He said, "It was a bit bad because I'd been there for 3 years, and I just wanted to play with the first team. But things only got worse. They even bullied him out of the club. They forced him to train alone." But there was one Premier League team that still believed in Dean. It was Bournemouth. But the real reason he went to Bournemouth is kind of crazy. Back when he joined AS Roma on loan, it was the sporting director, Tiago Pinto, who tipped Mourinho to sign Dean. And back then, Pinto already said, Dean will become one of the best defenders in the world. But that same summer, Pinto left Roma and guess where he went? He went to Bournemouth. When he heard that Juve wanted to sell Dean, Pinto picked up the phone. He wanted to bring him to Bournemouth immediately. And he also knew that Juve were desperate for money, so he quickly made a low offer of just 15 million euros. And it got accepted. Juve didn't care, they just needed money. But not long after joining, the same nightmare returned. Bournemouth had already signed Marco Senesi, their new first-choice centre-back. So once again, Dean was stuck on the bench for 3 months straight and barely played any minutes. It felt like the same story was happening again. But then, everything changed. On November 30th, 2024, in a match against Wolves, Marcos Senesi got injured. Dean got his chance and just 5 days later, he was in the starting 11 against Tottenham. In the 17th minute, Bournemouth won a corner. He got to the ball and scored with a header, his first Premier League goal on his debut, and that goal also got Bournemouth the win. But it wasn't just the goal, it was the way he celebrated. He just stood still and crossed his arms, just like the chill guy meme. It went viral instantly. And he wasn't done. Just a week later, he scored at Old Trafford and did the same celebration. But scoring wasn't even his biggest strength. With a team player like Milos Kerkez constantly joining the attack, Dean had to cover the entire left side of defence. And the stats proved it. He ranked first of all defenders for completed passes, progressive carries, and even goals. He frequently won Man of the Match awards, and Bournemouth had an 11-match unbeaten streak. He went from sitting on the bench to one of the most important players of the team. But with all that success, a big decision must be made, representing the Netherlands. His birthplace? The nation where he was captain in the under-19s? Or Spain, the country where he grew up and built his life? In an interview in 2017, he said, "It is my dream to play for the Netherlands." The decision seemed clear, but that changed. In 2024, Dean received Spanish citizenship, and without hesitation, he chose Spain before even being selected. He said that, "If Spain doesn't call me up in the next 20 years, I will continue to be Spanish." The Netherlands tried again, calling him up for the first team, but it was blocked by FIFA. The rules state that you can only switch nationality once, and he had already made his choice for Spain. He later explained, "I grew up in Spain, my whole youth was here. I just feel more Spanish." However, Luis de la Fuente, Spain's national team coach, didn't even include him in the squad for the Nations League quarter-finals in March 2025. He wasn't part of the plan, but just days before the match, everything changed. Defender Íñigo Martinez picked up an injury, and Dean was called up as a replacement. And of all games, it was against the Netherlands, the country he turned down. He started on the bench, but in the 41st minute, there was another injury. It was Pau Kubasi. Dean stepped on the pitch and the entire stadium booed him. But in the return game, he showed his talent. He provided the assist to Lamine Yamal, helping Spain knock out the Netherlands. That win sent Spain to the Nations League semi-finals, where they faced France. Dean thought he had finally scored his first goal for Spain. But just like in the under-17 final years earlier, it was ruled offside. Spain still won the match 5-4 and progressed to the final, where they faced Portugal. Before the final, Dean said, "It's like a dream to play against Ronaldo, let's see if I can stop him." But Ronaldo showed why he's one of the greatest. With one chance, he made it 2-2. The final went to penalties, and Portugal won. Dean had come so close, but the trophy slipped through his fingers. But after those great performances, another important decision must be made. Bayern Munich, Arsenal, Liverpool, and Real Madrid were all ready to sign Dean. But when Real Madrid wants you twice, you don't say no a second time. In May 2025, Real Madrid paid his €50 million release clause, and Dean became the most expensive defender in Real Madrid's history, from being benched to becoming Spain's defensive leader. The biggest chapters are still unwritten, so now the question is for you. Did Dean make the right choice by choosing Spain, or should he have stayed loyal to the Netherlands? Because one thing is for sure, his story is far from over. Thank you for joining us on this journey through Dean's rise, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss the rise of your next baller to watch.